Some people seem to get all the luck. They cut corners, make questionable choices, even hurt people, and nothing obvious seems to happen. Meanwhile, you try to do the right thing. You reflect, you adjust, you take responsibility, and yet life still seems to challenge you. That contrast is what makes life feel unfair. This video isn't about denying that feeling. It's about explaining why this happens, using the idea of soul age and life lessons, and why understanding this changes how you interpret karma, cause and effect, and your life experiences. Let's get started. Life tends to feel unfair when we compare it to what we see on the outside without understanding what's actually going on underneath. We notice someone else's choices and think, if I did that, there would be consequences. And often, that's true, but instead of questioning the comparison, we usually assume life is inconsistent or biased. What's really happening is that we're comparing different learning paths as if they're the same. Life doesn't respond to behavior in a one-size-fits-all kind of way. It responds based on awareness and responsibility. The same action can carry very different weight depending on who's doing it and what they're capable of recognizing from it. That's why karma isn't about fairness or punishment. It's about feedback. Life reflects back information that's meant to support growth at the level someone is currently operating from. When you don't take that into account, life looks unfair. But when you do it, it all starts to make sense. When people hear the term soul age, it can sound more complicated than it needs to be. In simple terms, soul age just describes how much awareness and responsibility a soul is working with at that stage. It's not about being better or worse, and it's not about being more spiritual. This is purely about capacity. Some souls are still learning very basic things, like how cause and effect works, how their actions affect others, and what responsibility even looks like. At this stage, life tends to move more slowly because awareness is still developing. Other souls have already learned these basics. They know their choices matter. What they're working on now is living in line with that knowledge, being consistent, aligned, and honest with themselves. That's why life can feel very different from one person to another, even when they seem similar on the surface. They're simply not being asked to learn the same things at the same time. A helpful way to think about it is like this. Life only presents lessons a soul can actually integrate. If the awareness isn't there yet, pressure wouldn't help. It would just overwhelm. So life waits. As awareness grows, responsibility grows with it. Not as punishment, but because more is now possible. This becomes very clear when we use a simple example. If a young child takes candy from a shop, most people respond with explanation and correction. The goal in this case is learning. If an adult does the same thing, the response is very different. Not because the action changed, but because the level of responsibility did. We accept this easily when it comes to physical age. Soul age works in the same way. The difference is that we can't see it. So when two people make similar choices but experience very different outcomes, it's not about life being unfair. It's life responding to different levels of awareness. As a soul evolves, lessons don't just get harder, they get faster and more precise. More evolved souls don't need long periods of repetition to understand cause and effect. The awareness is already there. What's being developed now isn't basic understanding, but refinement. Things like alignment, integrity, and consistency. Because of that, life doesn't need to evolve slowly. The moment something is slightly out of alignment, feedback shows up. That feedback can appear emotionally through a sense of unease or internal pressure. It can show up in relationships where dynamics shift quickly or fall away. It can be energetic, where the body or nervous system reacts before the mind catches up. Or it can arrive through circumstances that forces a pause or correction. What often makes this stage feel heavy is that you can't pretend you don't see it anymore. Earlier in development, ignorance cushions impact. At this stage, awareness removes that buffer. You feel things more clearly. and you know when you're avoiding something, even if you don't want to admit it. This is why it can feel relentless at times, not because life is being harsh, but because very little time is being wasted. Lessons don't linger, they surface, ask to be addressed, and move on once they're integrated. That speed is frustrating, but it's also a sign that growth is happening with precision. When people appear to get away with this behavior, it's easy to assume life is rewarding them or overlooking their actions. In reality, what's really happening is usually far more practical. Life doesn't present all lessons at once, and it doesn't present all lessons in a single lifetime. Each soul has a range of lessons it's here to work through, but those lessons are layered and sequenced. Some are foundational, some are advanced, and some are simply not relevant yet. Just because a lesson exists doesn't mean it's active. For example, in relationships, someone may repeatedly avoid emotional responsibility and still maintain relationships. That doesn't mean the lesson doesn't exist. It means the groundwork, like awareness or emotional capacity, isn't ready yet. In money, someone may misuse finances, take risks, or act irresponsibly and still be financially fine or even thriving. That doesn't mean cause and effect doesn't apply. It means the lesson around value, security, or how they handle money isn't active yet. In health, one might ignore their body for years with no obvious consequences, while another feels the impact almost immediately. That doesn't mean one is being punished. It means their systems respond differently based on sensitivity and awareness. So when someone isn't facing consequences for a particular behavior, it often means that lesson isn't on their curriculum right now. It doesn't mean it's being skipped. It simply means it's being deferred. Other souls may be working on entirely different lessons at the same time. Things that aren't visible from the outside, such as emotional development, survival, stability, or basic self-awareness. From the outside, it can look like ease or luck, but internally, the work may be happening in quieter ways. That's why the idea of getting away with things is misleading. It assumes life operates on a single universal checklist, when in reality it operates on individual learning tracks. Some lessons repeat across multiple lifetimes. Others are introduced only when the capacity to integrate them exists. Growth isn't rushed, and nothing essential is missed. Now, this is an important distinction that often gets misunderstood. Facing more intense challenges or faster consequences does not mean someone is more advanced, superior, or better than someone who isn't. It simply means their learning focus is different. Just as a child learning to walk isn't less than a teenager learning algebra, and a teenager learning algebra isn't less than a grown-up learning to manage responsibilities. These are all appropriate stages of development. Each stage matters. Each stage has value. None of them exist to compete with the others. If you're experiencing difficult or complex lessons, it doesn't mean you've done something wrong. And it doesn't mean you're above someone else. It means the material you're working with now requires that level of engagement. Likewise, someone who appears to have an easier life isn't failing or avoiding growth. They may be building foundations that are essential for later lessons to make sense. Different lessons serve different purposes. Comparison only distorts that understanding. Karma is often misunderstood because it's framed as reward and punishment. In reality, it functions more like a curriculum. Life responds to behavior with feedback that matches awareness and capacity. When consequences are quick, it's because repetition isn't necessary. When they're slow, it's because something else is being developed first. These experiences arrive when a soul is capable of learning from them, not when it's convenient or comfortable. That's why life can look unfair when viewed from the outside. We can see the results, but not the curriculum. Once you understand that karma is feedback, not judgment, the question shifts. Life stops being about who is being rewarded or punished and becomes about what is being learned. And that perspective brings clarity, not comparison. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, you need to watch my other video, The Unexpected Life Lessons from a Treasure Hunt, where I use a simple analogy to explain how life lessons unfold, why clarity often comes later. and how the process matters more than the outcome. Until next time, take care, notice the patterns, respond with awareness, and always stay inspired.